Hey, I'm Steve Gambill, and this is Life and Leadership. I want to talk about what matters most. I think leadership is so important to define. What is leadership? Because there's so many different ideas and interpretations about what that is. And so I believe that leadership is simply this. It's about being urgent every day about what matters most. If we can develop leadership from that standpoint in our leadership, identify what is urgent, what's priority, and what's low priority, and have a system to be able to manage that, we'll be able to grow so much more effectively by creating, in a sense, more hours in our day. You know, the Italian economist Vilfredo Peretti, he talked about this. He called it the 80-20 principle. He was an economist, and he noticed in Italy that 80% of the land in the late 19th century was owned by 20% of the people. And of course, some years ago now, a few decades ago, Richard Koch wrote a book called the 80-20 principle. Well, I've read the book and I've thought a lot about this in view of my leadership context, which is leading in a local church dynamic, and I've realized that 20% of the people do 80% of the work. So that's fruit. Maybe that's a little more in your church or a little less, but that's kind of a guideline. And so what I've understood is this: if I can grow the 20% of the people, even an additional 10%, if I can put in that sense of input to grow that 10%, so in other words, to go from 20% to 30%, what will happen is I'll increase my productivity times 4. If I give an extra 10%, then what's going to happen is I'll get 40%. Now, that leads me to this thought that input does not equal output. We live in a world that tells us if we work more, we'll get more. Actually, if we work on the right things, we'll see increase in productivity. So our job in leadership is to discern what matters most and leave the rest alone, to delegate, to organize, and to take care of that. If we can understand leadership from that point of view, then I think we'll have more time and we'll be more productive. We'll see greater results and greater effectiveness. So I'm testing this principle out in our leadership from our context in Bradford, in West Yorkshire, where we're building church on our 4 campuses. And I'm finding that it helps. It's helping me in my day-to-day flow. So I pray it helps you as well decide what's priority, what's urgent, and bring the best of your leadership to it.